Merry Christmas to you. It is that time of year again when all of the pretty decorations come out and lights all over the place, and Santa will be coming soon. You ready for some story time Christmas stories? Our very first one for the season is How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. See the little Who there holding the wreath? But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be, perhaps, that his shoes were too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. Oh, there could be a lot of different reasons why maybe the Grinch didn't like Christmas, but they think maybe it was because his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve hating the Whos. That's not very nice, is it? Staring down from his cave with a sour, Grinchy frown at the warm lighted windows below in their town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas, it's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming. I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow, he knew. Oh, he wants to stop Christmas from coming. All the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early. They'd rush for their toys. And then, oh boy, the noise. Oh, the noise, 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 noise. That's one thing he hated. The noise, 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 noise. Look at all the loud toys and things that they're playing and instruments. They're making lots of noise. Then the Whos, young and old, would sit down to a feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, feast, feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beast, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. Ooh, there comes all the food. Look at that very long table. Wow. And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Whos would start singing. They'd sing and they'd sing, and they'd sing, 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 sing. And the more the Grinch thought of the Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I've put up with this. Now I must stop this Christmas from coming. But how? All of that fun things that the Whos were doing, the Grinch didn't like. And then he got an idea. An awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. Uh-oh, I wonder what his idea was. I know just what to do, the Grinch laughed in his throat. And he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. And he chuckled and chuckled. What a great Grinchy trick! With this coat and this hat, I look just like Saint Nick. Do you think he looks just like Santa Claus? All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? No. The Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog Max. Then he took some red thread and he tied a big horn on the top of his head. Oh my, look at that big horn on top of Max's head. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackled sleigh, and he hitched up old Max. Then the Grinch said, "Giddy up!" and the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Whos lay a snooze in their town. Oh, look, he's in a sleigh, and he's got a Santa suit on, and he's got Max dressed as a reindeer. I think he's trying to play Santa Claus. All their windows were dark, quiet snow filled the air, and the Whos were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on the square, "This is stop number 1, the old Grinchy Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. Oh, he's going into his first house. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch. But if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Whos' stockings all hung in a row. "These stockings," he grinned, "are the first thing to go." So he came down the chimney, but he's not bringing gifts like Santa does. He is starting to take things from the Whos' house. Oh, that's so not nice. Oh, no, look. Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant around the whole room, and he took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates, drums, chalkboards, tricycles, popcorn, and plums. And he stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags, one by one, up the chimney. So he took everything that they had out for gifts and stuff, and they put it in a bag, and he put it up the chimney. He took everything. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Whos' feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned out that icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took their last can of Who hash. So he even took all of their food for their feast. He's a mean one. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. "And now," grinned the Grinch, "I will stuff up the tree." So he is now going to stuff the tree up the chimney. And the Grinch grabbed the tree and he started to shove when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast and he saw a small Who, little Cindy Lou Who was not more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter, who'd got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, "Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why?" Oh, so Cindy Lou Who saw that Santa was taking everything and was wondering why. That's my clock that's playing the music. But you know that old Grinch was so smart and so slick. He thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. "Why, my sweet little tot," the fake Santa Claus lied, There's a light on this tree that won't light on one side, so I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back here." And his fib fooled the child. Then he patted her head, and he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up. So he didn't tell the truth, and he told Cindy Lou Who that there was a light out on the tree, and he was going to take it and fix it and bring it back. Do you think he's going to bring it back? Then the last thing he took was the log for their fire. Then he went up the chimney himself, the old liar. On their walls he left nothing but hooks and some wire. See, there's the wire on the wall. And the one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. So the little crumb of food that he left was even too small for a mouse to eat. Then he did the same thing to the other Whose houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Whose mouses. So then he went to all of the other Who houses and took all of their stuff out of their houses. It was 1/4 dawn, all the Who's still in bed, all the Who's still a snooze, when he packed up the sled, packed it up with their presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags, and the tinsel, and the trimmings, the trappings. Oh my, look at how full his sleigh is with all of their stuff. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it. "Pooh, pooh to the Who's," he was grinchiously humming. "They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two. Then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry, 'Boo-hoo!'" "That's a noise," grinned the Grinch, "that I simply must hear." So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear, and he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low. Then it started to grow. Oh, I wonder what he's hearing. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, this sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes, then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. He saw something. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. Oh, look, they're all still holding hands and singing, and they still didn't have any presents or trees or anything on Christmas, so they're still happy. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came! Somehow or another, it came just the same. Maybe you don't need all of the presents and stuff for a Merry Christmas. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. Oh, do you think maybe Christmas means more than just presents and decorations? I think it does. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light, and he brought back the toys and the food for the feast. And oh look, he's on top of his sled, and he is going back to Whoville with all the stuff. He himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. So I think after all, the Grinch has decided that Christmas isn't such a bad thing. That's an old story, but a good story. I hope that you have a wonderful holiday season coming up. There will be plenty of more stories to come. I love you so much. Mwah!